As you can see, here in mid Wales it's really cold at the moment, and it's brought on one of the most amazing spectacles that we see really at this time of year. And one of the most amazing things to see in the country is these big flocks of starlings. Now what happens is, obviously I get them down by in the trees here, I get them on the phone wires, groups of starlings, quite big flocks feeding together. But at night something very unusual happens, unusual in the bird world. It's really quite a spectacle. So you have these really big flocks of starlings, they get together, the sun starts to go down, and they get together with even bigger groups and form these huge groups. And we're talking like in the last 20 minutes before the sun goes down. So this all happens really quickly. And as if like all these big groups of starlings, they know where the other groups are and they gather to make a huge group. And then eventually, as this like last magic 20 minutes of the evening goes on, for some reason, and they all know where they're going, these huge groups get together and make these mega groups of starlings, and these are called murmurations. And these enormous groups, I mean, they seem almost too big to believe, to be honest, and very difficult to film, just to gather the huge numbers and the huge awe of it. They get together and make these mega groups, still with new starlings coming in from all around the valleys and the hills here that have been feeding, and they join to make this huge group. And then something even more interesting happens. So when these groups get together, we see it as this incredible two-dimensional pattern happening in front of us, these big waves and sweeping motions and these incredible shapes and formations. So that's what we see. But this footage that I filmed here now, it kind of shows that this is actually a three-dimensional event. So let me just explain. What we're looking at is the ball of starlings in front of us. But really what you've got is you've got this ball of starlings, and then there's all these predators, mostly buzzards here, but there's all kinds of things joining in with this feeding frenzy. We normally see it in the ocean, isn't it? So you've got this ball of starlings, then you've got these bit part players which are being like shepherds or goalkeepers or whatever in the sky. So you've got one up here at 1,000 feet, one here at 500 feet, and they're all kind of just keeping this big ball of starlings together. And these are then dividing and splitting and changing shape to confuse the predators around them. So even you'll probably be able to see in all of these clips, at some point you'll be able to see the big birds in the corner, dividing it up, trying to keep control of things, trying to get a pattern to it, trying to keep them in one place so they've got a chance of an easy meal. And that's where the next thing really happens. So when you've got these starlings all rounded up by, and I'll just tell you now, there's buzzards here, lots of buzzards taking a feed, but there's also sparrowhawk coming in underneath. There's a peregrine here going past a buzzard, so all these predators are coming in and joining in with this kind of rounding up. What we're seeing is beautiful, and that's almost kind of deliberate on the starlings' part, because this is part of making a beautiful and mesmerizing spectacle. So the confusion is their safety, and they're making this beautiful pattern, and they're making these incredible shapes and formations and going back and fro so that the predators actually can't get a grip on them, and it's confusing for them. And one of the things you'll notice here is a technique of the buzzards is they're kind of staying put and letting the starlings go past them, hoping that one will just be close enough to have be able to grab it and have a quick meal. But it's an incredible sight, and it's as much as being a gathering of these starlings in vast numbers, it's also a gathering of predators here, which is making the spectacle even more dramatic. And this is filmed in mid Wales, and one of the you might want to look in the link below, but one of the things they're hoping to turn this into a wind farm, this area, which would be a tragedy obviously for the birds here, because it's such a wild place. But I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you have, please click on subscribe down below. Thank you very much.